Bond. James Bond.
Good morning. My name's Bond. James Bond.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
Who are you?
Bond. James Bond.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Bond. James Bond.
I'm not even going to read. I'm not going to read any of them. It's just too much. It's Bond on More Adventures and during the Ian Fleming timeline. Why would you not want that, you know? Howdy, and welcome to episode 9 of Sammy Legend's James Bond Show. I am Sammy Legend, and today I will be going over the literary Bond chronological timeline. Oh, by the way, if you see blue in my glasses,
It's not a technical fault.
it's my laptop. I'll be going off of that, referencing some things. I made PowerPoint. I'll put the slides in the video so that way you don't have to just sit here and watch me talk. You can see what I'm talking about. But have you ever wondered what the chronology is for literary James Bond? Or have you ever been so anxious about all the continuation authors and continuation books that you're just like, I'm not even going to read. I'm not going to read any of them. It's just too much.
Be a lot cooler if you did.
I'll just stick with the Ian Flemings, and that's it. I'm not reading nothing else. You'd be missing out on a lot if you did. I will be upfront and say that I haven't read every single James Bond book, but I have read a fair amount. And for the ones that I haven't read, for what I'm about to show you, I have done a decent amount of research to make sure that this is correct.
That is correct.
I will not be including any short stories by any of the continuation authors, only the ones from Ian Fleming. So no short stories, no novelizations, no Moneypenny Diaries, and no Young Bond.
Aw, man!
I'm only including official, full-fledged James Bond adventure novels. That's it. I'm also not including Double or Nothing, because that I don't believe is out yet. I think it comes out this spring, so that is not in this list either. With that being said, I will go ahead and get started, and here we go. So you have here the Ian Fleming timeline. If you wanted to just start and stop here, you could do that. Not read anyone else's works, and you would have everything listed here in this order. That is the chronological order, and also the order that they were published in. So that is the Ian Fleming timeline. If you want to go further in depth, you can have this timeline. And here you have the Anthony Horowitz alternate starting point, which has Forever and a Day, placed before Casino Royale, Trigger Mortis taking place after Goldfinger, which mentions things from Goldfinger, events that have happened, and With a Mind to Kill takes place after The Man with the Golden Gun, which also, again, mentions things from that novel. And I have Octopussy and the Living Daylights further down, because that doesn't really... It's more like an aside. It doesn't really have anything to do with any of the storyline of the other novels. So there is that starting point as well. You could do Ian Fleming or the Anthony Horowitz. I personally, in my humble opinion, I would go with the Anthony Horowitz, because they are novels that take place during the Ian Fleming timeline chronology, and it doesn't take place solely after it like a lot of these other ones will do. It's Bond on More Adventures and during the Ian Fleming timeline. Why would you not want that, you know? They're really good reads. I will say, though, I haven't read Forever and a Day, but I have read Trigger Mortis and With a Mind to Kill, and those are both excellent, excellent books.
Excellent, Mr. Park.
So those are the two starting points that you can choose from, and going forward, you can use either one of those starting points for any of the rest of the chronology. And here we have the Kingsley Amos timeline. And again, like I said, you could admit the red books, which are the Horowitz books, and you can just read Colonel Sun, because that takes place after The Man with the Golden Gun. This was the first continuation novel written in 1968, and you could have it take place, again, like I said, after The Man with the Golden Gun, because it mentions things from that novel, or you could have it take place after With a Mind to Kill, even though that also takes place after The Man with the Golden Gun, and that also references events from that book. So that is the Kingsley Amos timeline. Next is the Sebastian Faulks timeline with Devil May Care. Again, taking place after The Man with the Golden Gun. You can omit the Horowitz or not. And again, like I said, Octopussy and the Living Daylights for these timelines is placed down further because that's more like an aside, something you would read later. So that is the Sebastian Faulks timeline. Next is the William Boyd timeline. Here we have Solo, which takes place in 1969. So if you wanted to, I didn't put it in this slide that I'm about to show you, but you could have it take place after both, well, all, I guess, With the Mind to Kill, Colonel Sun, and Devil May Care. So this is the William Boyd timeline. Now, as convoluted as that was, we get into something even more convoluted.
Oh, joy! Rapture!
And I'm going to quote here from Wikipedia. Take that for whatever it's worth to you. But for the John Gardner timeline, which is next, it is said that Gardner stated that he wanted to, quote, bring Mr. Bond into the 1980s, although he retained the ages of the characters as they were when Fleming had left them. Even though Gardner kept the ages the same, he made Bond gray at the temples as a nod to the passing of the years. So with that in mind, here is the John Gardner timeline. You would read all prior Flemings, obviously.
Obviously.
With or without Horowitz, although, again, like I said, I would highly recommend you include them. And you could also highly ignore the Amos, Faulks, and Boyd books. Similar to the Flemings, this is the chronological order of the Gardner timeline, and also the order that they were published in. And I know that Cold Fall is just called Cold everywhere else but America, but I left it as Cold Fall here for this video, as I live in America. So that is the John Gardner timeline, and now it gets a little more convoluted again with Raymond Benson. And I'm going to quote here again from Wikipedia. It says, according to Raymond Benson, as far as the character continuity was concerned, he had been given free lease by Ian Fleming Publications to follow or ignore other continuation authors as he saw fit. Benson took a middle-of-the-road approach to this. While Benson treats Ian Fleming's novels as strictly canon, Gardner's novels are not, though there are some aspects that he adopts. And that's where it gets confusing, because he's including some Gardner things and while at the same time dismissing them as not canon. But for the sake of this video, we will include them. So here is the Raymond Benson timeline. Here you would obviously again read all the prior Fleming and the Gardner, with or without the Horowitz, despite some discrepancies as I mentioned. And you could again ignore all the Amos, Faulks, and Boyd books. And that is the Raymond Benson timeline, and that is pretty much the end of the original James Bond timeline started by Ian Fleming, or I guess technically chronologically storyline-wise with Forever and a Day. But this is where it would end with The Man with the Red Tattoo, because the next author, Jeffrey Deaver, as seen here, wrote Carte Blanche, just one novel, written and takes place in 2011. It's kind of a reboot of the James Bond storyline. It resets everything, sort of like Casino Royale did to the storyline in 2006. This movie is a total reset, and it would be something that you would probably want to read absolutely last. So that is that. And now if you would want to read them in the full chronology in order with minimal inaccuracies, obviously there's going to be a few with different continuation authors having their novel take place after this novel, after that novel, and this, that, and the other thing, and it can get a little confusing. And, some authors are choosing to reference these prior continuation authors, and others are not, and taking certain aspects and not. That aside, I think that the full chronological timeline, is what I'm about to show you, and you would just let the storyline flow, as I said, as best as possible, and there would just be a few speed bumps. This would be the full list, all 41 novels in order with minimal inaccuracies. And again, I do not include short stories, novelizations, Moneypenny Diaries, or Young Bond, and this list is current as of the filming of this video, which is January 2023. And again, I also didn't include Double or Nothing by Kim Sherwood because that is not out yet. So there you have it. If anyone ever had any question on the chronological timeline of the James Bond novels and which order to read them, this was it. I feel like this is probably the most accurate way to read them. If anyone disagrees or if they feel that there's another order that they should be read in, please let me know in the comments below. And with that, I appreciate you watching. This has been episode 9 of Sammy Legend's James Bond Show. I am Sammy Legend, and I'll see y'all next time, shaken, not stirred.